It's FAIN. What's good?
It's great.
What's up? How you feeling?
I'm really good. This deck is nice.
Nice.
It's so good.
Yeah, you just
underrated, unexpected.
you just won the Pandemonium gaming case tournament with this, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We split the finals, but yeah, they played very, very well. Super free.
Super free. Oh my god. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it. What we got here? What we got?
Is it rolling?
Yeah, you good.
Oh. So, playing ALTERGEIST. So, this deck is a little different than it used to be in the past. It used to be stereotyped as a trap deck, and I mean, it kind of is, but it used to have very explosive plays that you can only really access like after you've been doing your effects for a few turns. But the way the deck works now, it's more of a 2-card combo deck. And most people know what these cards do, except maybe this one, because this is one's newer. But
yeah, you say newer, but it's like that's the one from the Battle of Legends ones, right?
Yep. And I mean, this deck hasn't been played, since like 2020, 2019.
Right. It's been a little minute.
Yeah. But the deck basically focuses on 2-card combos now to make a really strong end board that is very hard to beat for most decks. So pretty much one of the best cards for that is this card. It's not only like going second power to let you like take care of like a problem in your opponent's field. It floats, it gives you a lot of advantage to being combo starter of the deck. And then the second like real starter is Marionetter. So you used to not play this card in this deck. This card used to be kind of bad because there were enough ALTERGEIST monsters to make it work because this card didn't exist. And at that point, the next best card, ALTERGEIST card monster, was like this, and yeah. So this card is really strong now because it makes it to where Marionetter and like any ALTERGEIST monster can combo, which is very nice. And the Faker, like these two, is probably the strongest combo in the deck. It beats the most hand traps. And obviously Faker is just always going to be a really strong card, just summon Silk from your deck, get that bounce, do it on your opponent's first turn with Imperm. That never happened with me at the tournament, never opened that combo once, but this card is just really, really strong. You can combo easily searches it. It's hard. The turn 1 combo also gets this to your hand, so you don't even have to really like search it or anything. You just kind of incidentally get it in your combo, which is nice. And this card is the newest card for the old new card for this. Lets you link. You can link it from your hand with a monster, and if it's in the grave when you link summon, you can add it back to your hand. So one of the better combos in the deck is these 2 cards, but it works just as well with this. It's also the fact that it puts itself in your hand is really nice for the effect of personal spoofing, giving you like a free card to put back in your deck.
Oh yeah, that is a good combo. So you can pick it back up and then put it back with spoof and then search anything out you want. Something like Faker and have it. Okay.
Yep. So these are like the ALTERGEIST monsters that you want to draw, and then you play the 3 that you don't want to draw. So I'm not playing the fire one. I think that I tried it out for quite a bit, and even though the one nice thing about it is that guy plus this is like the same combo as this, because you can just dump the one that gives you an extra normal summon and then normal summon this back after you add it, and then it's the same combo. But I found that I didn't really care for it as like another name, because specifically only is good with this, because that card and this is not combo. So I ended up cutting it from the deck, and I don't really regret it at all. I don't think that card will ever make it back in. But this is a 2 of is definitely the important thing, because this is like a hard garnet if you open it, if you only play one of it, and you really just can't afford that for this deck. So, and the other thing about it is that it's not even like playing 2 literal garnets. It's the first one, you need the first one in your deck to make sure you can combo, and even if the second one's in your hand, it's fine. It's going to be good later because you can shuffle it back with spoofing and summon it back later to get to make your grind game good, because you really want one in your grave and one in your deck at all times. That's like what's getting you the most advantage out of this card. So I really like playing 2 of it, and this used to be a 2 of in the deck before like the new cards, but you really only want to see it with one. Like, you don't want to draw this card ever. You can make it work if you draw like the Marionette combo with another monster, but you just don't. If you draw it and you can get rid of it, it's fine, but it's not like as integral to the deck as before, because before the Altergeist cards all kind of like centered around this card, where like this was like the main form of disruption you had. But it's not really like that anymore. Like, Faker summoning is not like the biggest deal, like on your opponent's turn. I mean, it is an important part of your end board, but like if you drew this card and it was stuck in your hand, it's not that big of a deal. But this card is as strong as ever. This card is very oppressive against like this type of decks that like just summon from their extra deck a lot, like Branded, like where they put a lot of resources into one card. Synchro decks, like this card is just really, really strong. But this is all the Altergeist monsters, and for the Altergeist traps, we play the spoofings and these traps. So first of all, 2 protocol. The main reason I'm playing 2 is not really because you necessarily need to, but opening like any of these trap cards increases your chances of beating a hand trap like Droll and Lockbird, because Droll doesn't really hurt this deck. So in like the combo sense, it just stops you from getting to like one of the trap cards most of the time. If like, obviously if they draw in Prosperity, that's rough, but if it's like they draw you after the Melee Seek Search, that is not really that big of a deal. All that really does cut you off of one of like either one of the trap cards, depending on which one you want to set. So opening one of these cards is really strong, and I think this is like probably the best one you want to open 2 of, because it's good against decks like Lab, or like the monsters that you want to negate are like really, really good. Like the Lady, Ariana, and on top of that, the fact that it makes your cards like unnegatable is good whenever your opponent is playing like a card deck like Lab, where they have like Skill Drain, potentially. And this is definitely the card you want to have set if you brick, like, because it's going to help you play going. If you get another turn, it's what's going to help you play, just to make sure your effects go through. And then I do play one of each of the traps. Most people don't even play this card, but I think it's definitely worth the spot in the deck even without the Fire Monster, because you really do want to open like one of these traps, and then if your combo goes through, you're gonna get an extra one of these cards. So why not, instead of playing 2 of this, why not just have 1 and 1? Even though this card is worse to draw than this, it makes your end board way harder to beat. If you have like all of these, it's really hard to beat, even if they have like almost regardless of what they have, just because it gives you Hexia so many more negates. Like, you can negate up to 4 times with Hexia if you have the whole, like, both traps, which is really, really strong against certain decks. And even if you don't, it gives you a ton of it. They just produce so much advantage, and playing both is also a really nice loop with Silk in like those really grindy games, because if you get in a situation where you have to manifest summon Silk and you have this, you can use this to summon one of your Link monsters back, and use this to bounce this, and when he dies he adds this back, so you'll be able to set them again and then do this over and over again infinitely. And that actually comes up quite often in my games, especially the games where like I get stopped, like hand trapped and stopped, and the game goes on a lot longer. This type of like setup does come up for me, and I really like that. You never use their graveyard effects. Like, this is one I don't think I use their graveyard effects at all in the tournament. Like, even though this card is also really nice in the grave, it gives your Hexia another negate in the grave too, just by being able to use the effect of normal summon on your opponent's turn to the zone that Hexia points to, give you another gate. But you're never using this effect to grab back a trap because you have, like, this is one of the lifeblood cards of the deck. Like, you always want to keep on adding this card back. So, and then the brick card, the card designed to be a brick.
Right.
Obviously, it's only good because of this card, but it's really important because if you don't play this card, your only way to do like the really good Altergeist in board is to open literally this, or this and like 1-for-1. I think that's bad. Like, I don't feel safe going into games where like this is full combo, but if you don't play this card, all you're doing is like setting protocol with this, and as good as that might sound, it's not enough to win games against stuff like Cash. So you really just want to be able to do that full combo every game. So that's why I play this. The discard is really important. It's what lets you play, and then it has the incidental trap negate, but that never comes up unless you're playing against stuff like Lab, and you can do like the 3-card combos where you get to actually keep this card on the field. But I really did enjoy this card. I did not draw it too often. The only games where like I drew it were the games that didn't matter, because either this I wasn't doing Marionette to combo, or I mean I bricked in this card. Doesn't really change the fact that I bricked. So I didn't really lose, even though I lost games where I drew this. It wasn't because of this card. I was losing those games anyway, no matter what this was probably. So that's why I've been fine within the deck. This is a card that a lot of people are debating on, like if you should be playing it or not. And personally, I'm not even really sure if this can be a 3 of. Maybe this can be a 2 of. But this is like one of the best cards you can draw when your hand is not comboing. It guarantees you Faker, and like by itself is, you know, Faker in your hand and the ability to activate it whenever you want, because it doesn't have a condition. You just flip it and use it. And that the traps just being like activatable whenever you want is really important for this card. Because you don't really want to just like summon. You don't want to preemptively just like flip your card, summon it, and then have Silk on the board, and then your opponent can potentially force it out before you can use it at the most optimal time. You want to be able to kind of just hold this card as long as possible. If you only have one trap, like you're only able to flip this, then obviously you have to activate it. But like having a card like this that lets you activate whenever you want is really good. It guarantees you get to play, and is another big thing. Even if you don't, even outside of this, being able to get you to these cards like on your turn to make sure that you're going to be able to play like out your opponent's stuff and then combo, or just be able to do it in main phase 1 if they don't have anything, is really, really powerful. So I'm on 3. I usually side it out 1 a lot, maybe even 2 when I'm going second, when I'm like trying to cut cards, but I think this card still has a very important place in this deck, so I haven't cut it yet, but who knows, maybe I might change my mind. But that's the Altergeist cards. I mean, I can show the combos at the end if you want.
Yeah.
Because hard to explain without just showing you, but the other cards, Prosperity, 1-for-1, call by the only spells I played. Prosperity's just obviously really good in this deck. You don't use that much of your extra deck, although you use it way more now than you did before. I found myself actually only banishing 3 off this a lot to keep my options open. There's like a few cards that like I always banished, and then if I just didn't really care, I just only really banished 3, because there's a lot of cards in the extra deck that like you want to keep in there that come up. The 1-for-1 is really, really good in this deck. It's basically just another copy of Seek for combo purposes, because you can do the exact same combo with this and this, with this and this, except you have a Link Rebo also on your end board, which is really nice. So that's why I play this, and then call by. I just don't really want to lose the Shifter when I have a good hand. And this deck loses most of like the low impact hand traps. Like the stuff this can call by. Stuff like Ash Blossom, if your opponent knows how to use it, is really strong against this deck. In certain hands, like if you have Prosperity, Droll Lockbird is going to hurt a lot. So if you have to use Prosperity to play, Droll Lockbird is going to hurt, which is, this stops. Stuff like Effect Veiler is not really that important to hit with this card. Dimension Shifter This was another big thing that just made me like really want to play this card. I might cut it going forward. I did use it a few times and it was good, but I wouldn't say it was anything crazy. But that's that. And then the other non-engine cards I played, Nib. This card was terrible for me this tournament. I drew it so many times and used it 0 times. One thing that's really hard with this deck is like, as nice as it would be, seems to open this card even when you're going first, when your hand's like bad. A lot of the times you want to be able to summon this card, and these cards conflict because this has the whole restriction for the whole turn. So if you nib, you can't do this. If you do this, you can't nib. So that hurts a lot. But in theory, it was for like the combo decks, because this deck's biggest problem is going second. It's hard to break boards with just your engine. And this card is kind of just a quick fix solution to a board. You know, if you can open this and like another negate that, like imperm, you just wipe their board and you don't have to care at all. You just play. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'll side it, maybe not. Maybe I just won't play it. I don't really know. But this card was really bad for me this weekend. Even though in theory it was good, but it probably shouldn't have been in my deck. Ash Blossom was just not much. It's Ash Blossom. Not really much to say about that. It's just really good right now.
Yeah, you're right.
And Imperm, Altergeist Impermanence. I never did this at all during that tournament, so can't say I got lucky with that. But obviously this card's just good.
Right.
Like, not much to really say about it, and then I played evenly. I did do this one time, and that was really good.
That's spicy.
But this card was also, it was better than Nib. I used this a few times, but it still wasn't great. This card is just, it's dead if you go first, because you're setting continuous cards. You're probably never going to activate this if you go first, unless you just pass, which is not great. And I mean, it was good when I used it, but I don't know. These might just be a different hand trap and like a real trap card. Like might play something like Ghost Mourner, and this could be like a card like Strike or something like that going first. There's not really too many good hand traps right now, in my opinion. But yeah, this is what I played. I don't hate it. It was supposed to be good in theory, but I don't know. These cards were just, they underperform. Obviously these cards are just good because, I mean, every good player knows.
Makes sense.
But that's the main deck. Just come on with the extra deck. So these are like the important like combo cards. So most people only play one on one of these. I play 2 for the cash deck. I really just, if I have to Ash Unicorn, I don't want them taking my one-ofs of these when I have all this extra deck space, so
makes sense.
I'd rather just not lose to Unicorn like that. And obviously 3 Hextia, because you actually summon 3 Hextia. This card is absurdly good, and it's even better now than it used to be because of the fact it's just not once per turn. You can negate up to 4 spells and traps with this card against against stuff like Cash that's absurdly strong because you can set up like this and this, steal like Fenrir. You have Fenrir on your board now, and this just negates all their other cards because all their other cards are spells or traps. So the end board is really strong against Cash, and being able to like sequence your plays to get the most negates out of this card is really important. A lot of people I see don't summon this card off of like the Reborn trap to put it here. A lot of them will put Maulwisp to put Hexia, but if you put this, Hexia contribute it, add back Maulwisp, you summon it, summon Seek here, so you get 2 spell trap negates out of your 1 card. And I do that a lot. The only thing that's bad about doing that play is this can get super polyed, but I don't really believe in that card right now. I don't think people really play that card actually, so
fair enough.
I wasn't playing around it. I was just trying to get the most value out of my cards. So this card is new for these cards are technically new for the deck. People didn't play this card in the past, and this card's absurdly good. So this card first. This card's a very important link climbing tool. It summons an Altergeist from your deck, which is how you get Faker in your combo, and then whenever it goes to the grave, it adds back an Altergeist card, which is also how you add Faker to your hand. It summons it from the deck, you link it in this into this, and then the Faker goes back to your hand. Very, very, very strong card. And you abuse it a lot with the Reborn Trap. Just constantly summoning this back tribute to add more back cards to your hand. And then this card is absurd. It's like a creative card, to be honest. It tutors out an Altergeist Trap, which makes it to where you can always have both Protocol, Manifestation, or even a third one if you opened if you can set Revitalization because you opened one of the others or something like that. And the quick effect steal on this card is so strong. It makes your board so much harder to beat because I can't just attack over this or the thing it's pointing to, when you can just, you know, take their monsters that are attacking, like the stuff like that's, you know, doesn't activate, like the cashier monsters. And the fact that it doesn't even negate their effects either is really strong. And the fact that it makes an Altergeist monster too is even stronger. You can take stuff like a Fenrir and put it right here, and then all of a sudden you have a Fenrir, a live Fenrir, because even if they got to use their effect or anything like that, like the banish effect, it's on your board now, so you can activate it too. Or you know, they just go normal. They just go special summon Fenrir, and you just snap take it. It's an Altergeist monster if you need to put it right here, so actually it can contribute it to negate stuff. And then again, it doesn't negate the effect, so you can steal Fenrir and then use Fenrir to banish their monster or card or whatever. It's just, this card is obscene. This card is so disgusting. I love it so much.
This sounds like a very powerful Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Very. I also played the Memory Gan. Some people don't play this. I think it's good. I didn't summon it at all this tournament, but I was in testing. It's so good at OTKing. The fact that it just buffs itself and gets huge, and then also just when it destroys a monster with battle, non-targeting, pop a monster, attack again. And the fact that it also, the attack it gains off its effect is permanent. So even if you don't kill them that turn, you can keep this big attack monster and try again on another turn, and you can protect it with like Silk and stuff. So, and I just mean that for the, like, if they can cockblock you with like a Bastille or something like that, you know. So this card's really, really strong, and you're actually open, so there's no reason not to play it. Link Rebo, very, very good, obviously. This is the only Link one I play. I might play Almirage, but I didn't really see a need for it. I was never summoning it. This is the only one I summon, so.
You feel that card's just better than Almirage?
Yeah, and I mean, if I had Artemis and I never summoned it. I had Almirage, didn't summon it. This is the only one I made. This is the only one. This is the most versatile one because you can't make. If you use 1-for-1, you can't turn Seek into Almirage. You can only turn it into this. So that's why I chose to play this. Even though Artemis like kind of matters sometimes with like Silk, I didn't really care enough to put it in the deck.
That's fair enough.
So this is the card people are. Look at this weird.
Yo.
Shout out to KX Short for this. But this card is actually really, really strong in this deck. So there are certain
decode target. Oh my god.
There's a certain hand where you do summon this card, and it basically is when you open Seek with either Faker or any of the Altergeist traps that summon. So basically, it's the hand. It's where you open only Seek and one of these cards. You can actually make this card, and I'll show you the combo, like the reason why you would want to play it. And then it's also a link climbing tool because I was playing the access code like extra OTK package. So the Seek can be a 1-card access code if you play these 2 cards alongside it in a Link 3 Cybers. And I had to pick one that was the best in all situations. Originally this card was dark for the purpose of like the combo I was showing, just because like if it died, it added a monster like Pukari or Faker. But I was just never summoning it. I mean, I was summoning it, but I just wanted something that did more. And in a way, this actually does more. The fact that it's a Link 3 is super good for the purposes of like on your next turn, you can link this into this.
Right.
It has a lot of attack because you're just going to summon all the monsters the zone it points to. So it's going to be big, which is really nice. And on top of that, his negate effect is actually really strong. It seems like a joke, but I've played games where I've used this guy's negate effect like 3 times in the same turn because of the fact that you have so many monsters under him during your opponent's turn. And the fact that he's also just tributing monsters that have effects, like Meluseek, Hextia, stuff like that. So he's getting you like those extra triggers on your opponent's turn to give you even more advantage. Because you want that out of that, like the hands that where you have to do that. That's where like him getting you all those extra cards, helping you like tribute them to get the extra cards really matters. So I'll show you the combo I would do with this after this deck. I did not do this like package at all, so I would probably just cut. I'm probably cutting this going forward. It seems good in theory, but a lot of the time, I would rather just do my combo than actually like do this to make the access code. Like you can just make the access code in your normal like if you can normal combo. Like this only really comes up if your only play is Meluseek, and that just didn't really come up at all during the tournament. Granted, again, it's just one tournament. I only played 7 rounds in total, but it didn't come up at all. So I can show this combo after also. And then I did play 2 synchros. I didn't play the Arclight. I cut it before the tournament for discard because I was still signing. I wanted to still side Bestials, so this card had to be in the extra deck because you can make it with Marionette and a Bestial because both were light. And in theory, it's really strong. I never did it. I never even used the Bestials in the tournament, but in theory, this is good. If I was playing Bestials, I feel like I would still play this. And this card I didn't summon it today, but I was a lot in testing. And it seems kind of a joke card, but it's actually really strong in this deck just because it's a card that gives you Hexia another negate. So whenever you can make the board, you're like the really strong boards with, you can have Hexia, Adminia, and then also have this card pointing to Hexia, and then have another Reborn and Faker to keep having the Spell Trap negate constantly alive is really, really strong. But it didn't really come up in any of the games that I played. I still probably would play this, but we'll just have to see going forward. But that's the extra deck, and I didn't really use much of my side deck, so I'm not even really going to talk about it much. I never drew these cards, so but they're good in theory. I didn't play against any of the decks that they were good against.
Fair enough.
Pank, this is mainly for Rise Hard. I never drew it, but it's a good card. I probably would still play this. Game of Seal. I only played 1 cash, and it was in the semifinal, and this card was very good in that game. So, but that's the only time I really used it. The back removal was very, very good for this tournament, especially the Lightning Storm. This card was very, very good. I'm very glad I played these cards. And this card was the best card in my side deck, and the card everyone what their hearts stopped whenever I activated it. This card is just so broken against every deck right now. Every single deck right now just relies on so many spells. The Cash deck, the Vanadium deck to a degree, stuff like the Branded deck, the Branded Chimera deck. Like, this card is just so good. It's ridiculous. And the fact that you can, even in your worst hands, you can keep this live very easily. If your opponent, like even like your weak hands, if you have only 1 monster, it's easy to constantly put Altergeist monsters on the field with your trap effects and Faker and stuff like that to make sure that this is never dead. Because they're usually not outing this card without spell, like they can't out this without their spells and traps. So this card was MVP for sure. And then I did play Barrier. I never drew it at all. I didn't really play against many of the decks it was good for. But it's good in theory against the Synchro decks, like the Branded Pile decks. Like, it's good. It's also good with Faker because it's just a card that you can activate whenever, stuff like that.
Right, trap card activates Faker. Makes sense.
Yep. But this card is honestly, like, these cards are the only things I really used in the tournament, like kind of this. So I won't talk about it too much. But this card is very good. I feel like it's like the only Fligate you need in the side deck. I didn't even consider things like Rivalry because like it's not really too great against most decks right now, even though it's obviously really good in this deck. But yeah, I don't know what I would do with the side going forward. But
did you feel like the Secret Village was better than like Anti-Spell?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even though Anti-Spell's like kind of good in theory, this card is just so good. Even though your end board technically already beats a bunch of spells and traps. This card is like a really good insurance policy, especially if you don't get to play like turn 1. If you have to end on a weak board, that's very susceptible to. That would be very susceptible to back removal because you only get like a couple spells and trap negates with like the weaker hands. This card just seals the deal for you. And even in like your best hands, even though your opponents are probably not beating you with spell cards like that in their best hands, this card is just a really nice safety net. It also technically beats Super Poly if you want to like just go all out and make like the best board possible, and then activate this. They can only Super Poly you if you like really put everything on the board at the same time, because all your monsters are different attributes. So the Beast Mud Dragon and the Garura, it's just when you have Adminia, it's either Adminia, Faker, or Prime Banshee on the field at the same time. And if you're sequencing the cards like semi-correctly, you're not gonna have all the attributes on the board at the same time. But this card is it's also kind of nice for that. But yeah, not much to really say about this. Didn't use many of the cards, so. Except this when I went first. And honestly, most of the games where I saw this card going first, it didn't matter that it was on the board or not, except for the one match I played against Dragon. That was really funny. I might actually might talk about that one actually, just because it's so funny. But yeah, I'll